Hello, Miss V. I have missed you so much. And I'm so glad to hear that Nick is doing well. Slow but sure after open heart surgery, you know?
He's coming along. And, just to add to the fact that there's more life, I just had my fourth grandson.
Yes, I can't wait
So,
to see pictures.
yeah, so Mason has Logan, and then I have Sam and Jackson. So I got two boys who each have two boys. So we're all doing great here. Thank you. And I've missed you.
Cool. And Erik, thank you so much for working with me days and days and days in a row. And by the way, Veronica, you might want to see this too. On my latest YouTube that I posted yesterday through Gaia, through my Gaia ambassadorship, speaking of hearts and open heart surgery, there's this cool, Greg Braden hosts Missing Links on Gaia. There's this cool free video content, this content that I put up there about how a little girl receives a donor's heart and has nightmares that help solve the donor's murder.
Oh,
Because the donor, I mean, the heart has its own language and its own memory. So it's so cool.
amen to that.
You'll see. It's very short. You guys ought to see it. Anyway, we're going to talk about reincarnation. And Veronica, you were telling me that you've been channeling a lot of God and angel type stuff. And you were thinking maybe we'll just dialogue about it. Hi, Erik. I love you.
I love you too.
Oh, God.
It's funny because Erik has said to me, you know how I get like, am I good enough? Can I do like, I question myself all the time. And Erik says to me, just like he like patting my head, and he says to me, my little girl's all grown up. He works with me, and it's kind of like he's pushing me to get into these other things, not to leave him at all, because he doesn't ever leave me, but he's helped build my confidence. And for that, I'm grateful. So one of the things that I get asked all the time is about reincarnation. I actually just taught a master class on it based on what I'm going to share with the people today watching this video. But Lisa, we can go down the rabbit hole. Like, you pick one topic and it's like whoosh, and all of a sudden
Erik can take us down rabbit holes.
Yes, too. Absolutely. And so I thought, Erik says to me, just stop, listen, and trust what you're hearing about reincarnation and past lives. And so I always tell people this, and Erik agrees with me. Erik taught me this. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. If this doesn't fit you or feel right for you, either it's not the time for you to hear it, or it just doesn't resonate with you. And Erik says there's no harm in that. Open your minds, open your hearts, and listen. That's it. That's all you can do.
Well, here's the tricky thing about some of these questions about reincarnation. I haven't read them all because there's like 3 1/3 pages here. But the fact that there is really no linear time, that is a human construct, and we need it. We need cause and effect in order to learn, for one thing. We need to get up in the morning, have breakfast, go to work, come home, eat dinner, go to sleep, and all that. We need the sun to rise, set, etc. So we think we have a past life, a present life, and a future lives, but all these are happening at the same time. And Erik, you once told me two analogies, I guess you call them. One is the wagon wheel, where our higher selves, our oversoul, what do you call it, is the hub of the wagon, the center. And all these spokes are all our lives happening all at once. It gets sucked up to when they're done, into the hub. But that wheel is turning in the mud. And as it turns, it's leaving this big track, and that's the linear time. But you also talk about how it's a big old stack of books, and we just happen to be right now picking up one of they're all happening at the same time. Those books are still all there, but we're picking the one right now and reading it. So otherwise it's just so hard to wrap your mind about around reincarnation and the fact that you lived a past life, but you know, but you're living this life, and you know, sometimes those that past life and even the future life can bleed through into this life. Like maybe you committed suicide in another life and at the age of 20, and now you're 20 and you're kind of feeling depressed, and you know, that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
go on.
So what I was shown is that the soul is the breath of God. So as God breathes life and we become human, we have one soul. And this one soul has thousands of lives,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about the soul as the umbrella, okay, and then underneath the umbrella, the soul has a spirit, which is an animation of sorts. It brings life to the soul. So it's a spirit. And that spirit has a personality.
I think I just heard Erik say something as an EMP, but EVP. So EMP. So you guys listen just a little bit before that. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you know what? He's saying to me to keep it very simple. He says to me, keep it simple. Let them see that there is a correlation, a direct connection to the creator, and then a direct connection to every experience they ever have. They, meaning all of us, will take different personalities, different aspects of this life into certain situations, okay? And so when the soul comes in, it creates a contract. It sits down with the elders, with the council, with the ascended masters, and it creates this contract of sorts where it says, I will do this, I will do that. And it negotiates pieces that it feels it can work with on earth. It will get pushed by the elders to say, you got this, you can do this. But simultaneously, if you've ever had a deja vu experience, deja vu is like
What is that?
it's
Yeah.
Erik says it's a bleep where you're remembering something from before or someone from before. He
Wow.
says it's a recollection, but Erik is saying that we're never allowed to fully, in this lifetime, fully recognize.
Well, who's not allowing that? There's no
Well, it
legal.
was created. It was created with the contract that we came in with. We said we would agree because
Oh,
think
I got it.
about it.
Yeah.
He's saying if we came in with remembering every life that there ever was, we'd never get anything done. We'd
Oh, yeah.
be all over the place. So
Right.
he said there's a reason for it. When we get bleeps and overtones of remembering, it's because it's relevant to this time and place.
Oh, yeah. And so what are we supposed to do with that information?
Well, Erik says that number one, we need to just know what it is. Knowing what it is and putting it in a place where it doesn't monopolize our time is sacred. Because if somebody he says there are a lot of people who get hung up on, I gotta know, I gotta know, I gotta know.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
impedes, it's doing the same thing if they really did know. It's distraction, he says, from this life. So he says what you do with it is you process it over time. You understand and look for correlations and similarities in this life so that you can create a deeper understanding.
Can you give us an actual example, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody is just, and all of a sudden this comes.
So Erik, one of the examples is, let's say you're drawn to Civil War time,
Oh,
or you're just this incredible history buff, but there's really no reason why you would be. It's just, you know, it seemingly came out of nowhere. Like you're overly fascinated with Civil War time, right?
Right.
Or if you're just overly indulgent in the arts and you didn't come from that, but it feels like home. Erik says that's a true indication that it's a recycled memory and life coming to be. Locations. People can, let's say, he's showing me that people can have such a draw to a certain place geographically in the world, and yet they've never been there. They have no even ancestry there. True indication that's a past life.
Yeah, so you should just say, okay, well, I'm not going to obsess over it. I must have lived there, or must be living there in another life.
And he says, do it when it's appropriate, because one of the things, you know, Erik is, you know, wants balance for his listeners. He doesn't want people to ignore the life that they're in right now, because we have to live this life,
Exactly.
you know? So he says, do it in a balanced way. It's almost like he's saying, as if you were going to use ancestry.com or any of those, he says you can have access to all your own answers. If, for example, you're drawn to Ireland and you have nothing, you know, biologically to do with it, he says, look into the history, the culture, and see if it resonates with you. That's how you find your own past lives.
Yeah, okay, well, that's interesting. Like Lucas got into he just Egyptian stuff. Like he loved the mummy videos, movies, and all that stuff. So I'm sure. But there are also some countries that, I just, don't know. So you probably had some bad experiences there, maybe.
Yep. And he's also saying, look at your hobbies that you have. Look at what you're drawn to pass your time. You know, it might be if a kid's obsessed with model airplanes, you know, or aviation from World War II or World War I or the Civil War, you know, they're drawn to something with that. There might be a correlation there and something worth looking into.
Yeah. All right. So this one person, you know, sometimes we have traumas from past lives. So wouldn't it be nice, and you know, this past life, another life, we should say.
Yeah.
And we don't really have any recollection of those. So how do we heal from those? It's really causing harm in our current life, which is also, you know, present time, but that other life that we don't remember. What do we do?
So Erik also wants to say this to that. People get hung up on karma. And he's saying that karma, when this body, when you die on earth, your karma, in a sense, he's saying it dies with you, in a sense.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't translate to your next life in the same way. You will have different experience of the karma. So if somebody is needing to clear up karma from a past life, or they've got a physical ailment that was intricate to their contract in that life, and it wasn't completely satisfied, and it still has, Erik says, learning potential, it will come back with you.
Okay.
So if there's still something to learn, you will get it back. It might show up differently. You'll have different players in it with you. You know, it's funny because I just looked over my left shoulder, and behind me, I don't know if y'all can see back here, I saw a Civil War soldier walk by me.
Wow.
He was right there.
Wait, I'll look later and see.
He has like a, I don't know, musket kind of thing. I don't know what it is, but I just caught it at the glimpse of my eye, and the Confederate or the Federal blue or whatever it is. But anyway, sorry for the digression.
I bet you if somebody had one of those weird, something really in some
The
device.
camera, yeah, that they could see
Yeah.
it. Mhm.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I can't remember exactly, but a lot of people talk about this soul trap, where we're caught in this thing. And let's see, where there's something about reptilians have us in this matrix. Wait. Oh, here it is. Is human reincarnation controlled by reptilians? Like, are we stuck in a matrix created by them? And is the Great Awakening breaking that matrix and freeing us from this?
So Erik,
that's different. Maybe that's different from the soul trap, but go ahead.
yeah,
Let's do that one first.
Erik is saying it's not that we're controlled by reptilians. You know, they seep in and they do get into the creaks and crevices of our life, and they might fall into the category of evil, if you will, but we're not controlled by them. Karma is what the soul needs to learn its lessons. And the reason the soul comes here, the whole reason, is to be of service while being in divine love.
Yeah, right.
Now, it doesn't have one occupation, it doesn't have one title, it has many, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see, when the spirit leaves the body, what happens is there's a silver cord, and this connects the body to the soul to the spirit. It's severed for eternity. Now, what happens is that
Uh-oh, you froze.
most times no.
Okay.
But it can, but you absolutely can have it, okay? So, in other words, if you have knee pain in this life,
okay,
you know, it may be, you know, you twisted something in another life, but that's usually not the case. It's usually trying to show you something else. So that's what I heard.
Victoria. Hey, Veronica, can I pause the recording? I'm going to change to a different Wi-Fi.
Oh, sure.
Okay, pausing and resuming. I hope that's better. We'll see.
Okay.
I got a nasty message. Your, thing is unstable. All right.
I seem to be okay, right? I'm not having issues.
Yeah, it said mine is.
Okay.
All right, so what is the soul trap everybody's so scared of? That we really don't go to heaven. They trap us like in little nets that catch minnows.
So Erik says that it's never really stuck per se. It's really about learning the lessons and being in the space to learn the lessons. It's an unaware trap that someone gets stuck in. You talked about Swiss cheese earlier. We talked about Swiss cheese. So the analogy we'll use, the analogy we'll use is Swiss cheese. Every time, every life, no matter when, if you've had an interaction with somebody where you lose a piece of yourself, where you don't fulfill a piece of the contract, you lose a piece of your soul. That's why soul retrieval is a thing.
Oh, yeah.
So Erik is saying the Swiss cheese, a lot of people come to experiences not on full throttle. They're not operating. I want to be funny and say something, but he says, don't say it. They're not operating on a full soul. They've got Swiss cheese. There are things missing. Yeah, so that's what we'll leave it at that. Reincarnation can be thought of as a regeneration. It's really the soul just kicking it up again. What happens is immediately upon passing, you're going to have, we talked about the life review, you know what the life review is, but we're going to see how insufficient being human truly is. There's such a magnificence, and
perfectly imperfect.
Exactly, exactly. Where you pick up your next leg of the journey, I'm hearing, depends on how much you progressed, how much love you had in your heart. And so it sounds simple enough, but when someone meets you at the border, so to speak, at the crossing, and it's always going to be somebody familiar, we know, Erik has told us, you're going to get your life review, and you're going to get to see the deficits in where you had, where love was concerned, is what he's saying.
Oh, it's about love.
Yeah. Yep, that's a great barometer on creating the next agenda. Understanding, he's telling me to make sure that people know there's no pass or fail. There's no judgment. This is just you looking, taking a bird's eye view, an overall view of your existence on Earth, so that you know when you come back where you're going to pick up. Of course, you don't remember
feel judged. You don't feel, you feel very objective about it. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. One of the other things, there's a holding place, if you will. And, you know, it's funny because the Catholics will call it purgatory. It's nothing like purgatory at all. Yeah. It's not. In fact, Erik is saying, go ahead, tell them. Religion is completely man-made. You don't get in a Jew line or a Christian line or a Buddha line. There aren't those things. Religion is a man-made comfort. So when you cross over and you are greeted, you don't instantaneously hang out with your peeps, so to speak, because you've got a lot of processing to do. You've got a lot of learning to do. There's a lot of knowledge. We often hear about the tunnel of light.
Yeah.
Right? When I'm going to cross over, I see the light. The light is different for everybody because the light is indicative of the level of consciousness that you aspired to in this lifetime.
Wow.
So some people, when I've done readings for them and looking at past lives, I could see that their light was very dim. They were called in. I could see how they passed, why they passed, but the light wasn't screaming for them to come in. It was just this diffused light.
Yeah.
Okay. And then often
that little pinpoint gray light.
Yeah, exactly. And what the darkness is, how we can think of the darkness is ignorance.
Oh.
It's light versus dark, it's knowledge versus ignorance. Yeah. And that's really what the difference is. So whoever you are here on earth, if you're like, let's say I did Charles Manson, I did the interview on Manson and who he was. There were remnants of his old life there, but there was also this loving, this benevolence, and then someone like Erik, who's saying to me, he was a loving, genuine being, they didn't get in the same line, so to speak. Charles had to process and go through certain things. And, so did Erik. Yeah. So it's kind of like you meet and then you part ways and then you come back again.
Okay. So a lot of these things that, like one person asked, the most recent past life affect their current, things like that. I'm not going to really ask because since there is time and stuff. But I'm going to ask a few of these before we go on. Like, can at least some cases, this is interesting, of homosexuality be due to reincarnation? For example, someone maybe have had several lives that are going on right now as female, and they are male in the current one they're conscious of, that they have an attraction for male energy.
So that's a human concept, Erik says. Homosexuality is human. The soul has no gender, and the soul loves who it loves.
Yeah.
Human homosexuality is a man-made term.
Mm.
If the soul, think of it like this, these are these two energies coming together. They're beautiful, they're loving, they're benevolent, but all of a sudden man goes, oh, you don't do that. No, you're the same sex. Where did we get that? As Christians,
Oh, yeah.
it's written, but if you dig deep enough into the Bible, it also speaks to loving from the soul.
Love is love is love, right?
Yeah. So to answer your question, if you're homosexual in this life, it's really, it's just a human label. The soul is just loving who the soul lives. I think of it like this, people who say they're bisexual, love who you love, be with who you want to be with. If you get physical pleasure from the same sex, whatever. If you like to mix it up, like, who cares?
I bet you it's probably a more evolved state to be bisexual. But
Absolutely.
There's also biology involved too, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
So
and if you think about it, there's a lot of like repression. People who are raised in specific religions are taught to repress how they feel. You want to talk about ignorance and dark and evil?
Yes.
There it lies.
Yeah. Now, do we have to reincarnate if we don't want to?
Absolutely not. Reincarnation is purely optional. How and when you reincarnate is purely optional, and there are many places that one can reincarnate to. It doesn't have to be specifically Earth.
Ooh.
Earth, Erik says, will kick you in the balls every time, because that's what Earth does. It accelerates the shit out of you. Your soul evolves much quicker on Earth.
Oh, this is interesting because it's kind of like this, what we just said. Can a soul go to higher dimensions in other star systems instead of returning midway in its cycle of midway in its cycles of Earth reincarnations?
I love it, because what I know, and when I say I know, it's because I've channeled it, Erik's confirmed it. What I know is when we talk about other planets, they're all part of the same. So if you're going to incarnate on the Pleiades, it's all one and the same. It's the soul that's the same. You can go to the Pleiades and learn what you're going to learn, take that knowledge, drink from that well, and yes, you can come back and reincarnate on Earth, and you're going to have an advanced level of understanding, or excuse me, not an advanced level of understanding, just a different perspective of understanding.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
This person must be having a hell of a life. Why do we keep coming back? Are we stupid once we cross over, or forced, or just deluded?
Mm-hmm.
No, every time we go back home, we're like, wow, what a treasure that was. What a treasure human life on Earth is. Yeah,
So Erik says what people need to understand, and this is very difficult to comprehend, when it comes to the soul, there is no good, bad, right, wrong. I hate it. I love it. There just is. The soul doesn't, these are Erik's words, the soul doesn't bitch, whine, and moan because the grass needs to be mowed, or there's not enough money to pay the electric bill. The soul doesn't see life like that. The human sees life like that. So when the soul goes back, crosses over, it doesn't go, oh shit, gotta go back to Earth again.
I know.
It's not a soul thing. It's not a soul thing. It's a human thing. And Erik's saying a lot of people live fucked up in this life, and they say, oh, I don't want to come back in this life. That's not your soul.
Yeah.
That's your own shit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you come back as something that's not human ever? Like,
so that would be are you talking about reincarnating to another planet, like as an alien, or what?
Oh yeah, can we come back as an alien or an animal, or?
Mm-hmm. So Erik says depending on what one needs to learn or how one chooses to learn it, one can take on different biological makeups. One can come back as an animal, one can come back as an alien. Erik is also saying he wants to make it very clear, and listen, those of you that know me, I'm not the alien person. And I have to say to you, I wasn't the alien person until I was sitting in my living room drinking my coffee, and I saw this thing in my mind's eye, and it said, I said, "Who are you?" And it said, "Well, I'm a Palladian, and so are you." I was like, what the?
Palladian too. Hey, girl.
Yeah. And so I became the Palladian, like I became the understander of other lives. So Erik is saying what you have to understand about the alien world, the alien nation, is that they're different than us, they're more sophisticated than us, they don't get caught up on the same shit we get caught up on, and they can, how is he saying it, he's showing me, like, they can drive a human's life, meaning they can be the inspiration to a human's life. He's saying just like Jesus Christ can inspire and be an inspiration to humans, so can alien life.
Yeah. Can you choose to reincarnate? Well, it's not a body, so, but can you choose to, instead of getting back into a body, can you choose to be a spirit guide?
So Erik says this is where it gets tricky, because spirit guides are just that, they're spirit. Remember, the soul is the soul, it has the spirit energy of it. So you can be a spirit guide and still come back and reincarnate, because that essence, that aspect that was you, let's just say, he said, give him a simple example. Grandpa dies, and you know, it's been 40 years, 50 years, and the little third generation baby is born, and oh my God, he looks just like grandpa, and you know, he has the grandpa, he's doing things grandpa would do, because grandpa's a spirit guide. But grandpa may have gone on to reincarnate into another existence, but his essence, his spirit, is still with little Johnny. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So is the baby that I had that died, they say some of his essence is in Lucas, or that he is partly in Lucas because he wants to observe through Lucas. Is that true?
Well, Erik says he's a guide of, so a piece of him. Did you ever hear that he is that Lucas is that baby?
No, nobody. No. I never asked.
How old is the soul? Because Erik is saying
he's let's see, Erik must have been like 2 when he died.
Because what I'm hearing, and this is just raw right here, I'm hearing that a piece of that soul is also in Lucas's soul, which would make it a twin flame.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Mm-hmm. And so
in East, well, I can ask that with
yeah, no, that's interesting, because I've never quite gotten into that.
Ethan has a lot of Erik in him. A lot of Erik, but I'll ask about that later. I don't want to.
Erik's his guide. Erik says all of those kids are my heart and soul. I have pieces of myself with all of them. And he's also, Erik, and I have to share this with you, yeah, it's personal, but Erik is also wrapping his arms around his sister Michelle. Do you know why?
Yeah,
I don't have to say, but he said, he says, Mom, you know, she just always needs that extra hug.
She does. She does. Yeah.
Okay. So he wants you to know doing that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can tell me anything. I don't hide anything. This is a really cool question. Listen to this. My question is, being incarnated here on Earth, do we ever bump into our other incarnations? If so, do we recognize ourselves?
Oh, I love that.
That's cool.
So, Erik, what do you got for me, buddy? So the clear answer that he just gave me of course, it feels like the ultimate deja vu.
Ooh.
So, you know, he gives the example of, have you ever just met somebody and you fall in love instantly?
Yeah.
You're like,
Talk about the
oh,
ultimate narcissist. I love you, me, myself, and Irene.
or conversely, you meet somebody and you're like, ugh, it's the aspects of yourself
So it's a
in a
fractal?
previous life.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So again, you're meeting aspects, not necessarily the original version.
But in the same life?
He says, yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? Can you be your own spirit guide?
No,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
no.
Backseat driver. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Why would oh no, I want the one about completeness. Is there ever an I'm complete physical feeling and vice versa for your soul?
Yes.
And how? How is that?
Because it's coming to the ultimate realization that there is only love.
Oh wow.
If you think about just how difficult that is for us on a day-to-day basis, and you can imagine you're coming in multiple thousands of times trying to get it right,
Yeah.
you know, it's a tedious process.
Yeah.
So what I have been shown is ultimate when you're done. But Erik says, hold on, they have to understand life is a cycle and life never ends. So if the tides roll in and out, that's a cycle. The
Yeah.
sun, the moon, that's a cycle. The seasons, that's a cycle. We are an indestructible cycle, and we will never really get there because there's nowhere to get. You will simply have different experiences, Erik says.
Okay. How many lifetime cycles does the average person have? Dozens? I mean, you can give me
Yeah,
like
Erik says it's too many to even comprehend. He said, if you want me, he said, if you want me to throw out a number, I'll say thousands.
thousands, tens of thousands, 5 figures, 4 figures.
5 figures. He said it's really hard to understand and comprehend with the human mind.
That's a lot of wheel spokes, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But it's human mind.
I know. LP brain. Is there something about reincarnation that we should know about that we don't? A lot of stuff. So much to know, so little time.
Erik says reincarnation happens for a reason. And the only people who truly understand about reincarnation and what it can help them do and be in their lives are people who wake up and who want to see the light. Because he says, think about the millions of people, millions and millions of people who are walking around in ignorance. They have no concept of this. It's like you die and that's it.
Yeah.
And we know one thing for sure from Erik, you don't die and that's not it. Like you continue and continue and continue. And reincarnation, while I'm living as Veronica, because I'm enlightened and I'm welcoming it and I'm open to it, I can look back and see many lifetimes for myself.
Yeah.
And I can say, is this relevant to me now? What can it teach me? And if it doesn't have anything, I know now as this 25 plus year journeyer to put it aside.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's really about learning about yourself and evolving yourself.
Yeah. And this person has a similar question, the goal of reincarnation. And basically, I'll answer that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's to Well, twofold. It's to remember that we are loved is the main one, and to remember how to love. To remember that we are loved takes experiencing the opposite of love in every facet of love, to experience betrayal and to understand to understand loyalty and friendship and all that stuff, every opposite, to understand there's so many facets of love, and therefore there's so many opposite of those facets. So there we go.
Erik says too, the one thing to remember is don't personalize life. It's not personal. What happens, happens, and it's all for the greater good.
Right.
So if you want to get hung up on they wronged me or they did this or they did that,
We're all collective, we're all one.
You're missing vital lessons by getting stuck in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
do all suicides have to return to complete unfinished business? You don't have to do anything, people. Okay.
No. And suicide is whatever. It's just a means to an end. No pun intended.
Positioned. Yeah.
It just is.
Why would someone sign up for reincarnation knowing they would be a human sacrifice? No, we got that one already covered. All right, this is interesting. My question on reincarnation simply is, how can a channeler still speak to a deceased spirit if they have already been reincarnated elsewhere? Well, that's the wagon wheel thing. Some people say, well, I can't, they're, what is it? No, I can't remember, but just go ahead. I mean, that we could talk to anyone. We could talk to somebody's higher self, okay, when they're here alive. We could talk to someone who is in heaven, etc., right?
Absolutely. Erik keeps emphasizing, don't get stuck in your humanness, because humanness is it's an itty bitty, eeny teeny weeny piece of what you are. To you, it's the whole enchilada, but it's not. People, here he says, tell them, Veronica, have you ever thought about somebody and you thought about them and you thought about them and you thought about them? It's almost obsessed, and all of a sudden you run into them everywhere you go. You see them. You get little clues of where they're going to be. You have tinges, you have feelings. He says you're communicating with them. That's communication.
Yeah, sure.
That's communication.
Cool. Okay, this person says, I've read a book where two brothers from Mumbai died in a car. I've heard this story too. Died in a car wreck, a crash, and connected with their mom afterwards. They vividly described their transition in 7 levels in some lower realms and said they would be reincarnating. Can Erik throw more light on the process they went through? Oh, that would take too long. Yeah, that's about a specific story, not about.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we reincarnate with the same souls over and over again?
Yes.
Same souls, yeah.
Yeah. Same soul, different spirit, different energy, or different personalities.
Yeah.
But same soul.
Is it possible to incarnate and have a completely different life lesson? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that would be the way.
Yeah. What is the ratio of new souls to reincarnated souls on Earth in this present moment?
Well,
souls being
Erik says there really is no such thing as a new soul, because we've always been somewhere.
Yeah.
So how do you?
Some are in barker loungers up there with drink holders.
Yeah. So really, there's not, what we call a new soul.
Okay.
When we talk about old souls, new souls, that kind of thing, Erik says it's not like people think. An old soul is really somebody that has learned a lot of lessons, experienced a lot of karma.
Exactly. All right, I'm almost finished. If we reincarnate, is it this exact soul? Okay, well. Okay, hang on. For those who have memories of their past life, why does it sometimes feel like no time has passed between when I have time to another? For example, if someone remembers dying and then boom, they're like in a new lifetime. What's up with that? That's cool because they instantaneously go back into another life.
Erik says again, there's no time. There's no time
Yeah.
because there's no time. But he says if they're remembering, they've written that in. That's you're
Oh,
supposed to remember.
yeah. So that's a spiritual contract they've written.
Exactly. It's written in. Yep.
Cool. Why do some people think we are on a prison planet? And in this alien interview, a true story based on the experience of a nurse from Area 51. Are we on a prison planet?
No, we are not captive on this planet.
Okay. Now, some animals have a horrifying physical circumstances. Is it their choice to experience it, especially if humans are those who torture them?
Well, again, it's signing up for the contract. So let's say the dog and its abuser is no different than the child and its abuser, or the woman and the man and the abuser. It's no different than that. They agreed to play part in each other's contract.
But does the animal have a spiritual contract for spiritual growth, or is he just
Whoa, no, the human, I'm sorry, the human can pull
okay?
the animal in. The
But
animal isn't as sophisticated as the human.
and does God pull out their soul at the moment when they feel how they cannot handle so they cannot handle suffering anymore, or are they stuck to go through unbearable? Oh God, please tell me.
One of the things Erik just showed me is when somebody goes through tremendous pain, physical pain,
Including
right?
the animal, right?
Right, including animals, they go unconscious. Whether it's literally unconscious or
Out
there's
of body.
something that happens in the human brain where they check out.
Okay.
So most people, if you talk to them about it, the details will be spotty. It's a self-preservation thing that was installed in humans and animals.
Oh, good. Okay, almost finished. One more question. How can we use this lifetime to attain 3D, 5D consciousness?
Erik says that's simple. He says, Veronica, give it to him simple.
Go for it.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Be grateful. Be loving. Be forgiving. Be compassionate. That's 5D.
Yeah. Live your life in love, not fear.
Absolutely. The golden rule, do unto others, baby.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
right. And remember this, the haters, the people who are haters, just remember that the people who are hardest to love are the ones that need it the most. Just remember
Absolutely.
that. If you have somebody who is annoying and irritating and mean, just remember they need love. They need love the most.
And that heals everything. Would it be okay with you if I shared a quick story about death, my
Of
personal
course.
experience?
Yeah.
So in this room that I'm sitting in, my father-in-law passed away and his bed was over here.
Yeah.
And I remember being with him and he was looking up to the left and he kept talking about George and his wife and people, mom and people he would see. And
We're alive or dead?
he was alive,
No,
or
no.
they were dead. They
They
were
were
dead.
dead. Okay, got it.
And so he's in the bed and he's conscious, but he's not conscious. And he had brown eyes. And I'm looking at him and I'm talking to him and, he's not there, like he can't respond. And all of a sudden he takes my hand, he takes my hand, he squeezes it, he looks up. And I lose my breath when I tell this story because instantly when he took my hand and he looked up, I could feel his soul go, and almost like you see the fumes of gas when you pump your gas. And the other thing, his brown eyes went black as coal.
Wow.
I mean, I could look at him. There's his brown eyes. I see it go. I look back. He's got 2 pieces of black coal. There's no life. So when people say the eyes are the window to the soul, I believe it.
Wow, wow.
It was, I have the chill bumps because it was something I'll never, ever forget seeing.
Wow.
But I could see his soul lift off. It was incredible. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Wow, anytime, girl. All right,
So,
thank you, Veronica. You guys check her out at veronicadrake.com. Are you still doing the online school?
I am, but I want to tell you something. Because of you, because of Erik, I am so incredibly blessed to be so busy and so booked, like months and months out. I created Conversations for the Soul. It's 4 people tops, intimate group readings. I can do 2, 4, 6 a week. There's no waiting for a reading with me. Conversations for the Soul.
But there is for individual one-on-one, there's a big range.
For the one-on-ones, but I promise you, read the reviews. People have said it feels like they're with loved ones. Just the right group of people come together and the learning is tenfold. So Conversations for the Soul.
Erik will be there too, right?
Oh, forget about it. He's always there. They always want Erik in, and he definitely is there. Always.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Everybody. All right. Well, thank you. I love you, Veronica. And of course, I love you, Erik. And let's do some more work together.
Absolutely. Love you, Mom.
Hey, text me when you're ready to, we'll FaceTime. I'm going to do a little work first, but maybe this evening whenever you have time.
Oh, yeah, sure. All right, cool. Thanks. Love you. Bye.
Bye.